Hi, I'm Charles Malki, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants, and today we're here at Dave's property here in Tustin, located in Orange County, just between Los Angeles and San Diego in Southern California. And thank you, Dave, for having us.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
So tell us, Dave, a little bit about your property and I see fruit trees surrounding me. What kind of fruit trees do you have, and how can we help you today?
Well, I have about 100 fruit trees. Going to wind up with about maybe 30 or 40 in the ground. The rest are in good sized pots, and I have everything from olives to a lot of stone fruits and a lot of different citrus and mangoes and a lot of different fruits. And we're just summer's coming upon us, and it's getting really hot, and I want to be better prepared for summer for my plants so they don't get burned.
No, that's great. I know today here we are in the late morning, and it's going to be in the 90s today, and the next 2 days will be over 100 degrees, and then we've got a lot more days in the 90s. So the lesson that we're going to discuss in this lesson is basically I'm going to share with you 3 tips that I find key for protecting your plants from the extremes of summer. So we're going to talk about 3 helpful tips, and then at the end I'm going to have Dave also share with us his quick and easy shade structure method as well that he's starting to implement to protect his plants from the 100 degrees, the 100+ degree temperatures that'll certainly begin to cook a lot of his young plants that he's just installed in the ground. So we're going to review that, and then hopefully Dave can share with us his top 5 plants and trees that he's got within his garden as well, as I see a lot of things are fruiting, and these are some things for you to consider if you're in a Southern California location or a similar climate that would do quite well for you. So be sure to check these out, and let's get started with tip number 1.
Sounds good.
Thank you. So tip number 1 when it comes to summer proofing your plant is fertilizing. By feeding your plants and putting all of the proper macronutrients in the root zone of the plant, you'll actually further protect the plant from the extremes of both summer heat as well as offer insulation from the coldest days of winter as well. And the way that works is the macronutrients phosphorus and potassium, both of those are very valuable in protecting the plant and ensuring them from the extremes again of summer and winter. What we're going to use today is the 6 Macros Plus all-purpose fertilizer. If you want to come in a little closer, I'll share with you these numbers that are on here. And you can take a look that we've got nitrogen percentage is 13, phosphorus 12, potassium 13, magnesium 1%, sulfur 3%, calcium 3, and again it also contains the beneficial microbes and mycorrhiza as well. This one here is the super blend with the highest NPK. I've also brought with me the premium blend, which has a lower NPK and also sells for a little bit less than the super blend, but it still contains on the back 1% of the 6 Macros Plus Super Blend. So 1% of the Super Blend is in the premium blend fertilizers. And so the 6 Macros Plus ingredients, if you take a look at it in regard to derive from, it has 7 lines of ingredients. If we take a look at that together real quick, it includes feather meal, alfalfa meal, fishbone meal, kelp meal, cottonseed meal, potassium sulfate, glacial rock dust, which is similar to using azomite, neem cake, rock phosphate, oyster shell, crustacean meal, magnesium sulfate, humic acid, and fulvic acid, which help with the uptake, and this is natural acids derived from compost, which help with the uptake of these macronutrients, amino acids, silica powder, zeolite powder, which again is similar to azomite, and then all these glomus, beneficial bacteria and beneficial mycorrhizal fungus as well. So this product basically has all of the macronutrients plants need. You can compare it to any other organic fertilizer. It's got them all, whereas the other ones do not. What we're going to work on and treat over here, if you want to check out this fruit over here, there's one fruit on this particular nectarine tree. The goal ultimately with a healthy tree is we're going to try to hopefully create a tree that's going to create a healthier, larger canopy to protect the underlying tree trunk and branches when they become exposed, as this one has become. If we take a look here, this entire tree trunk is exposed to the afternoon sun, and you can see all of the cracks and burns that are happening to the tree trunk. And as you come a little closer, if I can get this out of your way, you can see over here was probably where the rootstock was, and that over here is the scion grafted wood, and all of this is barkless due to sunburn. 3rd degree burns, as I like to call it, as it has no bark at all, no cambium tissues. All of the fluids are flowing from behind it, and I'll spin the tree in just a second. But notice all the beetle and termite holes that are now in the exposed wood of the plant. But in the meantime, it's trying to heal, as you can see, this callus tissue that's coming from the underlying cambium tissues from the back of the tree. If I spin this around now, you can see that this here is basically giving the tree the life supporting fluids and waters and sugars that it otherwise needs between the canopy down to the root system. But otherwise, this whole other half of the plant is barkless, and we're going to be treating and caring for that in the future lessons. But what we're going to do, and I want to share with you this entire list of benefits of using these macronutrients, is over here starting with nitrogen. Nitrogen is responsible for facilitating green growth needed in chlorophyll, the engines that make the life-giving sugars, energies of the plant, and used as the building blocks, amino acids used in constructing proteins. Phosphorus, which we talked about. Phosphorus and potassium, most important for protection from the extremes of summer. Phosphorus facilitates flower and fruit production and root development, aids plants during times of environmental stress, and that's where it comes in most important. Also found in DNA and RNA of the plant, found in as the energy molecule adenosine triphosphate. Potassium provides the plant with disease resistance and water regulation. It helps control the stomata, the opening and closing of the pores within the leaves, and helping to regulate moisture that way. It reduces the risk of damage during extremes heat and freeze. Magnesium helps the plant keep healthy and green, required in the making of chlorophyll molecule. Sulfur also contributes towards keeping plants healthy and green. This element is needed in plants making of amino acids, proteins, vitamins, and so forth. Calcium, used in development of the plant cell wall. So as the plant grows, it needs more and more calcium. Helps transport other nutrients throughout the plant, facilitates metabolic cycles, including photosynthesis. So there's a lot of macronutrients that are necessary towards the health of the plant. When it comes to greening, most of us think nitrogen is what the plant needs, but nitrogen is only one of the elements necessary for the greening of the plant. It also requires, as we just read, sulfur and magnesium. Those are other important macronutrients for the greening of the plant. So what we're going to do today is we're simply going to take the 6 macros plus. I'm going to be using the super blend, and I'm simply going to take this here's a level tablespoon, and I'm simply going to scatter it around the root zone of the plant. I'm just going to take a few tablespoons, and it's important to do this using an organic fertilizer. The Ivory Organics products, the Ivory Organics 6 macros plus, whether it's a super or the premium blend, have all the macronutrients plants need. It's the equivalent of basically something living and organic dying in the vicinity of the plant and giving its elements and nutrients to the benefit of the plant. If you're doing things in a chemical way, there's a lot of negative side effects to what's happening within the soil. If you're using a chemical, the first and foremost, in my opinion, detriment is that it can actually harm the soil biology. The goal in an organic garden is to basically foster all of the earthworms and to foster all of the beneficial bacteria and fungus and all the good that's within your soil. Using a chemical fertilizer will actually harm all of that. So one risk with a chemical. The other issues with chemical fertilizers is they leach. They leach a lot faster than typically organic fertilizers, leaching into your storm drains, into your lakes, oceans, and streams, and causing damage that way. And again, there's a whole list of reasons, but another one I'll share with you as well is that it adds no life to the soil. It's not feeding your soil biology. It can create some false growth to the detriment of also the roots not keeping up with the growth that's happening above the ground. Doing things organically, the plant will grow at its own pace in a better and more regulated way than it otherwise would with a chemical fertilizer. And again, there's a lot more reasons than what I've just shared, but using organic fertilizer is a natural way to feed the plant, improve the soil microbiology, and result in a naturally healthier and better producing plant. What we're going to do now is simply take our hand tool, and I'm just going to scrape the fertilizer into the top 1/4 inch of the soil. The goal is to not disturb any of the surface roots of the plant, and we're going to continue the feeding to all the other trees throughout the rest of the garden. Like I said, there's about 100 of them, so there's a lot of work to be done. But this is step 1 to making sure you prepare your plants to get through the hottest days of summer. So here we are now on lesson number 2, which is whitewashing to protect your plants from the extremes of summer. Over here I have 2 examples. Again, this here to my right is the nectarine tree, and in front of me I've just found an almond tree within the garden that I wanted to share the same point. The point being is that these trunks are exposed to too much sun, with summer now being about a 14-hour long day plus the added temperatures and heat that are exposed to its skin. These plants are suffering 1st, 2nd, and 3rd degree burns. This nectarine on my right is suffering 3rd degree burns, and the way I define the burn is if, and again, I haven't put on my sunblock for the day, which means within the next 30 minutes to an hour, my skin's gonna go from this natural, skin color to red, which is the 1st degree burns, the discoloration of the skin. A 2nd degree burn is going to be, I'm now going to start suffering some blisters and some skin damage. It's going to take me days to heal with aloe vera and other skin ointments. That would be a 2nd degree burn. But what a 3rd degree burn is, I've now just burned my epidermis off my body, requiring now skin grafts in order to recover and hopefully still stay alive. You can actually die from a 3rd degree sunburn. Similarly, your trees in your garden can die from a 3rd degree sunburn. A 3rd degree burn, when compared to your trees, is going to be the bark is now burnt. The tree's underlying cambium tissues, which basically move the waters and sugars underlying the bark of the tree, is also now compromised, and now it's exposed wood underneath the plant. Before I revisit this nectarine tree, I want to share with you this almond. If you come in a little closer, you can see that the plant is overall pretty healthy. It's got some leaves. It's pushed out at least 4 to 6 inches of new growth since spring. But take a look at the entire tree trunk is exposed to too much light all the way throughout, and can actually benefit from being whitewashed in all of these exposed areas. If we take a look now again at the nectarine, you'll see that this is what the 3rd degree burn looks like. We've got all of this exposed underlying supporting wood, and it basically has no bark. All of the life-giving support is behind the tree, and now we've got beetles and termites that are working and beginning to hollow and weaken the integrity of the underlying tree. The goal is to protect this now with the whitewash formulas. Let me share with you 2 other trees that I found here in the garden also suffering 3rd degree burns. Check these out. So here we are next to an apple variety within the garden, and if you come in a little closer, let's take a look at the graft zone. If you take a look right in here, it was grafted at this point. This here is the rootstock, and take a look at all of this damage, which again could have also been caused by girdling as well. If there was a squirrel in the area that wanted to reach the underlying saps, they could have actually gnawed at the tree and caused this particular damage, as I don't see any sunburn damage at any of the joints above at this particular location. And let me share with another one I can share with you is this plumeria that's to my left. If you take a look, again, if it had a good canopy, it would shade the underlying trunk and branches, but all of this trunk is exposed to too much light day in, day out, year after year, causing this discoloration. And here we're dealing with at least a 1st, if not a 2nd degree burn. Again, being this is the south sunny side of the tree. And now let's take a look at a 3rd one. And now here we are next to a very healthy plum tree, but take a look at what happened in its past. If you take a look at the underlying trunk, again, you can see that there's exposed wood, 3rd degree burns from this point down, and you can see right at the tip of my fingertip, this is boring beetles and possibly termites that are working their way and beginning to hollow the center part structural wood of the tree, which means whether it's a few years from now or 10 years from now, one windy day, this tree will be, hopefully much larger and healthier and supporting more fruit, and it's just going to topple over. You're going to look at the inside of the tree, it's going to be hollowed out because there's been beetles and termites hollowing and weakening the integrity of the wood, even though it could one day heal over under proper conditions, being it's got a larger canopy and that there's no further sunburn damage happening to the under part of the tree. Well, let's get started with lesson number 2, being protecting your plants with whitewash. Follow me. So here we are now back to the nectarine tree, and we've decided with all of these products that we have by Ivory Organics, these are the products I want to share with you. There's either the yellow label cans, which have the added oils, which will give you the added protection against repelling insects and rodents, or we've got these blue cans, which are oil free, and this offers your plants the protection just as let's say a chemical paint would do, without the added protection against insects and rodents. So the blue label product is oil free. It basically offers your plants, I'm going to share this with you if you take a look. So it's defined as whitewash, protection against damaging sunburn and winter sun scald, again for protection on your roses, fruit and nut trees, ornamental trees and shrubs. And when you open it, you'll simply see that it comes with this organic base powder, but there's no oil within this product. What we've decided to use is this product over here. And I want to share with you the white can as well, which again offers the protection against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents. Again, also for uses on your roses, fruit and nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. registered material for use in organic agriculture with the color white. The colors brown and green are still pending, but we've decided that we want to go with the more natural looking color brown. So again, it comes with the organic base powders, and within there, it'll include a bubble wrapped oil vial, and the oils that are include castor oil, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint oils. And these offer the plant the repellent protection. So like that apple tree that we saw behind that may have been girdled by a rodent, this here will actually offer your plant the rodent protection to prevent that from happening, any of that chewing happening, because of the added, it's typically the castor oil within there, as well as the spearmint and peppermint also offer rodent repellent protection. The other oils within the product also offer the beetles and termite and just other insects from penetrating those surfaces once coated with the product. If there's any beetles that are trapped within the plant that might bore their way out, keep your eyes open for that, and you may have to reapply a second coat, but the goal is to prevent a further invasion within the plant. And right now we're going to start off with preparing this Ivory Organics 3-in-1 color brown, and we've opted again to go with the oil formula because we've seen the beetles and termites within the plant, and the goal is to create a barrier using the oil product rather than the blue label whitewash formula for this particular tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply add the base powder to the can like so, and then we're just going to add some water about halfway, and then we'll go with our bubble wrapped oil vial and add those 7 natural oils to the product as well, like so. And then we'll mix it and try to get all of those powders in contact with the water. And here it goes. It's now starting to mix in. And now you can fill up the can the rest of the way to have a full can of brush-on solution. One can be used in 3 different ways I want to share with you real quick. It can be used as a brush-on as we're using it now, filling up the can with water. It can also be used as a foliar spray as well as a tree paste, depending on how much water you add. And you can read about those as well. But let's just get the solution now ready to apply. And what we're going to do is simply take our brush now and start protecting the tree trunk. And the goal is to work your way up to where the canopy starts. So we're basically going to protect from where the canopy is down to the root zone. The goal with protecting all of this exposed wood and the also better condition wood that's behind it is eventually, hopefully, it'll callus over within the upcoming years to come and offer this plant a longer, healthier, more productive life. So we've just protected the entire, again, lower canopy all the way from where the branches start, working our way down. We've coated all of the pruned branches, all of the exposed 3rd-degree burns. We've sealed over all of the beetle and termite holes. I'm hoping you can come in a little closer and you can hopefully see how natural this is as the product begins to dry onto the plant. But you can see we've gone as low as we can towards the ground and then up towards the beginning of where the branches are within the plant. We also have the 3-in-1 ready to use spray. This is derived off of the 3-in-1 Plant Guard color white, and you can actually use the product as well with the harder to reach branches by simply spraying it into the entire canopy. As you saw, that we've got a nectarine here as well within the tree. If I spin it, you can take a look at the nectarine, and as I spray it, you can see that we've got now an organic sunblock that's even on the fruit. When it comes to eating it, you can simply wash the product off. If you take a look at the inert ingredients, I'll share that with you. We saw the oils, but we've also got these inert ingredients which include iron oxide, limestone, mica, which is a clay, limestone is a stone, milk proteins which help with the bonding, and then silica, which is sand. So it's got very simple, natural, organic ingredients, but it's also going to help the fruit also prevent fruit burn. So if you've got fruit that are exposed, especially on that south side of your plant, you can also protect it with this 3-in-1 Plant Guard, something you would never do using a chemical paint. Chemical paint is designed to last for decades, if not centuries. You paint your house and in 100 years you put a second coat of paint on it and make it look new again. But your tree bark, if you're actually putting paint on it, as the bark sheds, you're going to end up with bark and all of that paint products in your soil for many decades, as the half-life of the product is very long. And a lot of the organic orchards across the country are no longer allowed to whitewash using chemical paint, and we've been able to work with and partner up with a lot of the orchards and offering them an organic solution to protecting their orchards using an organic and natural solution. So my tip number 3 for preparing your plants for summer is mulch. And when I talk about mulch and including compost, what I've got here in front of me is I brought some compost from home, which consists of leaf litter and some really broken down wood chips and probably a little bit of poultry manure made their way into here. But what I'm going to do is add a very thin layer around the tree, about maybe 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, and I'm covering some of these surface roots that have become exposed, again, because a lot of the organic material within this potting soil is broken down, exposing some of the roots. So we're going to protect some of that as well. So we're going to add, like I said, about 1/4 of an inch of compost around it, followed by some coarse wood chips around the root zone of the plant. We're adding 2 to 3 inches. You wouldn't want to add too much nor too little. Too much, you end up smothering those surface roots of the plants, which are critical in maintaining the health and the life of the plant. Too little, and you lose the benefits of what the wood chips are going to do for your plant. So what I've done here is I've created a 2 to 3 inch area of wood chips around the plant, and what I want to be careful when applying the wood chips, and I've seen this mistake done over and over again in gardens, well, they'll add 2 to 3 layers all the way up to the same level as the tree trunk. You want to make sure that you bring the wood chips in to where the tree trunk is, but make sure that there's a space of at least 1 to 2 inches from the tree trunk, and then build the wood chips up as you work your way away and within the root zone of the plant. By bringing these wood chips too close in contact with the trunk of the plant or within the stem of the plant, it'll result in a phenomenon known as stem rot. As these wood chips are going to absorb moisture, that moisture is going to pass on to the bark of the plant that will retain that moisture and begin to rot, causing more damage to the plant than good. So you're going to want to make sure that these wood chips stay away from the trunk of the plant, but again, just insulate the soil again by about 2 to 3 inches, not necessarily more and not really much less. The goal again is 2 to 3 inches in my experience, and the benefits are manifold. The number one most important tip with mulching around your plants, especially going into summer, is it's going to keep the soil temperature several degrees cooler. That's going to be critical in maintaining the health and the life of the plant. So again, adding wood chips is going to cause the soil temperatures to stay cooler in the summer. In the winter, the phenomenon is the opposite. It offers insulation, keeping the root zone warmer. So insulation is the first main purpose for adding wood chips and mulch around your plant. So aside from offering insulation, what your wood chips are going to do for your plants is it's going to keep the root zone weed free. It's also going to help with supporting the beneficial microbial life within the soil. As the wood chips break down, it's going to turn into that compost. It's become more finer. It's going to also improve the entire soil integrity of the entire plant, whether it's in the ground or in a container. And then furthermore, as we talked about soil biology, it's going to continuously offer food to the plant as this organic matter continuously breaks down and offer that to the plant. So again, this is my third tip, is mulching the plant. But before we go, you got to make sure you also water the plant. The best time for watering your plants is going to be early morning, ideally between 4, 5, 6 in the morning. The goal is to soak the root zone and make sure it stays, that you, again, when I say soaking, like you're really soaking, saturating the entire plant from top to bottom. And if the water leaches out the side, that might have been too fast. Like, you really want to make sure that you water, and you may have to rewater and rewater to make sure that the entire root ball, including in the middle of the container, is saturated with water. I'm going to start running the water now. And you're basically going to water that entire root zone. If you've got a soaker hose or a soaker system on one side of the container, it's very simple that water will pass from one side and leach out the other without watering the entire root system. You're going to want to make sure, if you've got an automatic system, that it's watering basically all the corners of the plant, whether you got it watering in two sides, 3 sides, or 4 sides. Just make sure that entire root zone is wet, one, to offer water uniformly to the plant, but also, again, since we care about that soil biology, we're going to want to make sure all of it is in contact with water and not just one side of it. The healthy biology is going to require moisture all around. Well, now let's check out Dave, and as a bonus, see how he's going to be creating some shade structures to also further protect his newly installed plants. Let's go and check that out now. So now we're basically going to go to the bonus section where Dave is going to teach us how to create these shade structures within his garden. What he did in just the most recent few weeks was he planted all of these mango varieties that are within these square structures that you see. In between it are some more tropical fruit trees, including I see a guava and some persimmons and some other fruits that are basically offering shade to the planted trees in between. So what we're going to do next is have Dave teach us how to create these shade structures. And again, one of the reasons we're talking about before recording is these trees are from tropical zones. So here we are in Southern California, which, you know, naturally doesn't support tropicals like this, but we can grow the tropicals because our climate temperature-wise is similar to the tropical zone as long as we offer water. But with temperatures that are going to soar into the hundreds these next couple of days, so creating a structure like this is going to be very important for protecting these non-native plants. Specifically, we're dealing with mangoes today, and these structures will again protect the plants from the extremes of summer, as well as this will also help protect your investment in your fruit and maximize your yield once your fruits are close to harvest time as well. So I'm going to pass this off to Dave, and Dave's going to share with us this bonus segment as well on how to create shade structures and netting systems around your fruit trees. So let's check this out.
Well, one thing we do when it's getting really hot is I needed to protect these mangoes. The trees are expensive and they burn pretty quickly. Tomorrow it's supposed to be 107 degrees here, so I just took 1/2-inch rebar or 3/4 number 4 rebar and 5-foot sections, and I pounded them into the ground about a foot using a pole driver. Put it over the top and hit it down. And then after I got the 4 in, I just put the 3/4-inch PVC over the tops and then connected them with these connectors. And then after that, I have a shade cloth. In this situation, I'm using weed cloth because it's thicker and it's going to be so hot. I'm only going to keep it on for a few days. Then I use these office clips, and I just put the cloth right on, clip it on in a couple spots all the way around. It just takes a couple minutes, and that's it. It works great. For my espalier trees, which I have all the way down this fence line, I just did 2 poles and put this over the top, and I can just staple it onto the wood fence and clip it onto here to make sure all of these are covered all the way down. Let me show you what this looks like without the PVC on it. So I just measured it to make sure it's all nice and even, and then put these together as we go. We just build it, put it over the top and slide them down. Works great. And you can also put bird netting over them when your fruit is ripe. It works great.
So I hope you enjoy these helpful tips from myself with Ivory Organics and Dave here in Tustin on protecting your plants to get through the hottest summer months. If you found this video informative and educational, be sure to give us a thumbs up, and most importantly, by subscribing down below, you'll be connected to this and all of our other educational gardening videos. Thanks again for watching, and happy gardening.